So maybe you have a zone that needs a whole lot less pressure than the rest. Maybe you want to convert it to a garden or a drip or for trees. You have one zone that has really high pressure and you don't need high pressure. If you have the right valve and you do the right thing, you can really help the pressure on that zone. At the end, I'll even cut a line fully open so you can see how much water actually flows out of the pipe when we adjust the flow control. So first, we're going to talk about what valve we're going to use. Second, we're going to talk about what tools I use to take apart the valve. And then third, we're going to get into it and replace the valve. Also, I threw in a couple of pro tips in there that will help you out down the road on any repair. So this is the Rainbird DVF. This is the 100. It's the 1-inch female by female threaded. Now, Rainbird isn't the only manufacturer that makes these flow control valves. Hunter, Irritrol, Weathermatic, Orbit, and K-Rain also make valves that are flow control. And this is what we're going to be working with today. So we're replacing a regular DV valve for a DVF, which is F for flow control. So it still has a bleeder valve, still has the solenoid on top, but it has this flow control here. You turn left or right, reduce or increase the flow. Now, when it says flow control, it doesn't mean that you're going to get more water than what the supply is. It just means what's coming in, you can decrease. So you're not going to be able to turn up more water than what you have supplied to the valve, but you can control what the output is. So whatever's coming in, you can control what's going out. So when you go to replace any type of valve like this, when you're just taking off the top of the valve, replacing the diaphragm, replacing the top of it, whatever you are doing, there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. One way is just a flathead screwdriver, or you can use a Phillips screwdriver to take these off by hand. Or if you have one of these multi-tools, it's not really a multi-tool, it's just a multi-screwdriver. It's got like 16 in 1, or 11 in 1, my bad. 11 in 1, this is a fantastic screwdriver to keep in your toolbox. You can also pull this out and it will fit over these here and help you get those off. Now you can use just your strength of your hands to get it off with a screwdriver. That's always safe. It does take a little bit of extra time, and sometimes it's hard to get them off or on if they're really stuck. Another thing that you can do though is you can use a drill. Now I would not use an impact driver. That is too much for it. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But a regular drill, I would recommend. You can use this, and I'll show you how to do it safely without stripping out the screws or damaging, over tightening or anything like that. I'll show you a tip on how to do that, because this will make your life a whole lot easier and you can change out valves really quickly. So first of all, get an extension bit. And this is handy because you can reach past the height of the solenoid and reach the screws on both sides. Sometimes because of location of the valve, you still have to take the solenoid off, but most of the time you can reach it if you have this extension bit. So that's really handy. You can use a Phillips on it, or you can use a 5/16 nut driver to take these off as well. Now here's the pro tip. On the drill, you'll see this wood screw here, and if you're going to be using this, you're going to cause a problem because it can over tighten, it can crack things, it can strip them out. So if you're going to use a drill, don't use this setting. Adjust it over to where these numbers are, and these numbers will help protect that. So you can leave it at 18 or whatever the highest number is. You can turn it down to 12 or 10 or whatever you want. I would probably go, above 8 just so it gets it nice and tight. But what will happen is it will engage the clutch, and so it won't tighten up anymore. It'll just go to a certain point, tighten it up. I'll show you how it works. So this is for demonstration purposes only, but I will show you. This screw is already loose here. You can see that it's loose. Now I will tighten it up, but I have it on this low setting to where it won't over tighten. So that helps prevent stripping out any screws or over tightening it, is using those settings on the top of your drill. So these tools are really handy when changing out valves. I'll put a link in the description below, and also the valve, I'll put a link to that also down there. This is the Hunter PGV valve with flow control. It also has a drip filter and pressure regulator. And now we'll get back to changing the valve. All right, so here's the valve DV100 here. And remember, before you do anything with changing valves out, turn off the supply for the sprinkler system. You can turn just this one. You can also turn this one if you want, but you at least have to turn this one off. So here's our DV valve that we're going to change out. Now, in this case, we're going to use the same solenoid that was on the old valve. It's still good, the wires are all good, so we're going to go ahead and reuse it. That's why we're taking it off here. Now, you might find there's a little water left in the lines. That's not a problem, it should stop soon. I'm just using it to clean off the solenoid, make sure it's clean before we use it again. So the next step is removing the top of the valve. So take the screws off. I'm using a drill here. There's not really any harm in using a drill for this. And we'll take off all the screws, and then we'll take off the rest of the valve top. Then you can do the same thing with the new valve. Take it apart, and now this is the new diaphragm from the new valve that we're going to put in the old valve body. Make sure it lines up with the solenoid where it's supposed to go and all the screw holes where they go. You have to double check to make sure that it fits nice and snug and nothing's in a weird place. Also make sure to put everything back. Springs get forgotten all the time and cause problems down the road. And now we put the new flow control valve back over the new diaphragm on the old valve. So make sure everything fits nice and snug. Then we can screw everything back down. Now I am using a drill here, but I have the setting very low so it doesn't over tighten the screws. You'll also notice the pattern that I'm using. I'm going opposite like you would put on a spare tire or a new tire, and that will make sure that it gets tightened down nice and even. Then replace the old solenoid back on the new valve. You can just use your hands to tighten this solenoid back on. You definitely don't want to over tighten it, so just make it hand tight, nice and snug. Now that everything is back together, you can turn the water back on. So going back to the valve, this up here is the flow control. So if you turn it all the way to the left, you'll open it up. Now you can see on this open pipe that I've cut how high that flow is. But now if we turn it all the way to the right, or most of the way to the right, it will put pressure on the inside diaphragm and restrict the flow. So you'll actually get less flow coming out of this valve. So check out this flow here on the end of the same pipe. You can see how much that's changed. And we're going to save a lot of water by not allowing it to mist or overspray or anything like that. Thanks for watching to the end, and we'll see you on the next one.